it really is just, it really does come down to just, because the way I will see this class is less about being like an actual school class where like you can't go on without having this knowledge. It's more of just, here's some information, here it is, just different chunks. So you don't have to worry about watching the videos. Like if you miss a week and then having to catch up, you don't have to worry about that. It's completely new information. And I might say like, well, you know, we talked about this sign last week, but it's not going to be like, okay, well, remember how we did all of this last week? Well, you need to know this for this week. It's not like that. It's very, I'm trying to think of the word. There's a word for it, but I can't remember it. But basically, it's new information every week. So, and then they're not really connected like that. It's not like math. So, all right. So for today, we are going to be doing, I lost my place. I'm so sorry. I usually have it where my, like on my phone, it's the top notes, but I had the second one, like second meeting, and I was like, that's not right. It threw me off. But so today what we're going to do is we are going to learn family signs, and we're going to learn some WH question words. So those are just those basic ones. And then we'll learn some places as well. So they'll just be, that's kind of where we're at. Depending on how much we get through, we may or may not get to all the places. We may get to a few. I always feel the biggest ones are family signs and WH question marks. So we're going to start with our family. So the sign for family is going to be two F's on both sides, both hands. You're going to have them touch and then loop. Family. Family. And it's like you're making a circular, like this is our group. That's why it's that circular. And what's kind of cool is about this hand motion is that this hand motion is used for family, class, team, group. You can use G for group. I always just see group more. But basically this hand motion is just to show a group of people. It could be a group of students, like a class, or it could be a group of teammates, like a soccer team. So that motion is just that meaning of group. So that's just a little tidbit, but this is family. So family is going to be the F's. Family. All right. So then we'll start. We're going to start how I do it. Okay. I'm sorry. I know that's kind of weird, but it's like it'll build. But so one thing to know is that for anybody who is male, like dad, grandpa, uncle, it's all going to be around your head, the top of your head. Anything that is female, like mom, sister, daughter, it's all going to be around your chin. And that's just kind of how it goes. But it helps to kind of clarify when you're talking about, yes. So like you'll have dad. So dad's going to be your thumb on top of your forehead, dad. And then mom's going to be on your chin, mom. So we have dad, mom. If you were to say parents, you would just do mom, dad, like this. Either way, it can start with mom, dad, dad, mom. I always say mom, dad. I do the same thing with my siblings. I go sister, brother. I think that's because my sister's older than my brother. And so in my mind, I'm like, no, it has to be in order. But there's really no order. It can just be parents, however. Some people will use the P and do parents. That one is not more commonly used. That's more that signing exact English, which you can use, but it's not ASL really. It's more English related. So this is more ASL, the parents. All right. So then we'll go on to sister. So sister, what you're going to have is both your hands need to be the little in these motions. I don't know if you can see. I'm trying to make them good. You're going to have one start from your chin and go, sorry, thumb down on your right, on your non-dominant hand. I always do this. I always have them stick it up, but you can have it down, up, and it's just going to go sister. Chin, the hand, sister, sister, sister. So I'm wondering if you guys can guess what brother would be. Yeah, brother. So you'll do the same thing. It's just up high, brother, brother. So you have sister, brother. All right, perfect. And then we'll have grandparents. So for grandparents, what's really nice is that it's very simple. It's basically the same sign as parents, but you add an extra step. So we'll start with father, so we'll start with grandfather. Grandfather's going to be starting here, and you're going to bounce it out. Grandfather. And then grandmother's the same thing, grandmother. I always add an extra bounce. I mean, you can just go straight, bouncing it. Some kids, when you're talking to some kids who are deaf, they like to play with signs. And I tell this story every time. It's one of my favorite ones. Is I had this one kid who would say, my grandmother, and he just would keep doing this, like, oh, and it was just like he was saying they're just so old, they're just all the way, and it was the funniest thing. I'm like, that's not nice. And he laughed. He thought he was so proud of himself for going, oh. But it's so funny watching kids because they will play with signs and kind of make their own little creative signs with it. It's funny. It's really funny. It's like how kids play with words and they'll make new words and stuff. It's that same thing. And I think it's so cool. But I'll just never forget with that face too, of just like, oh my gosh, it keeps going. So, all right. Then we now have aunt and uncle. So uncle is going to be a U to the side of your head, and you just kind of circle it, uncle. And then for aunt, it's going to be an A down to your chin, aunt. Now for cousin, you would just have that C. And what you do is, depending on, like, if you're talking about a boy cousin or a girl cousin, you would move it up. So if it's a boy cousin, a C, girl cousin, it's a C. Now, if you're just talking about just general cousins that you have, oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I opened a soda and I shouldn't have, because I'm going to be having these little burp moments every time, and I apologize. But for multiple cousins, you will just do it in the middle, kind of around your ear. And this is for cousins with that S. And a lot of times I see this more used now as just kind of a gender neutral, just cousins. So, all right. So now we're going to make our family bigger. No, we're not. We're going to come back real quick. So we'll start with family. So family, dad, mom. Then we have sister. That again, you have like your little water gun, just sister, brother. And it's not like, I see, like, I might do this. It's the same thing for sister. There's no difference of where exactly your chin needs to be touching your finger, as long as you have it from your chin going to your hand, that's sister. And then the same for brothers as well. Then we have, grandparents. Then we have grandfather, grandmother. Okay, and then we had uncle. So uncle's that U right on the top of your head. Then we have aunt, which is down here by your chin. And then our cousins, our boy cousins, girl cousins, and just general cousins. All right, perfect. Now, what we'll do, I realized something and I made a mistake on this. Not really a mistake, but it's just a thing I forgot. I'm gonna add it now, is I've not shown you the sign for boy, girl, man, or woman. The reason I say these is because they tie in with like dad and mom. So the sign for man is going to have the dad motion, but now you're also going to have it come to your chest. So man, woman. So it's that mom and dad motion, but now you add that extra. It's almost like you're saying person. So dad, person. So a male person, man, woman, like female person, if that makes sense. Then we have boy. So the sign for boy is going to be boy. And imagine it like you're grabbing the cap of the bill of a baseball cap. That's always what I think about, is like a boy with a baseball cap on, boy. And then girl is going to be your thumb goes across your chin, girl. Now, the reason I say those are important is for boy and girl, those tie into the signs for son and daughter. So the sign for son is going to be boy, baby. So son. And then for daughter, it's going to be the same thing, but now girl, baby. I know you can't see, I'm trying to lift it higher. Girl, baby. And again, you do not have to be this high. You can just be in a kind of your comfortable position, but I'm lifting it so you can see better. So girl, baby, that's daughter. Okay. Then we have, sorry, I'm going through like my whole big family list of all the family members. We also have, how you would say stepmom, stepson, stepdaughter is you would finger spell the word step and then add that in. So like step daughter, step son. So that's how you would add those, like step dad. So that's how you would do those kinds of things. And a lot of times it's just because step is such a short word, you can just finger spell it. When you have the language, finger spell it fast. Not like I'm saying, because expecting you guys to be able to say, oh, step fast. Like, no, I get it. Y'all are still learning. So for in-laws, I always think this one's kind of funny to me. The reason is because what you do for, like, example, mother-in-law. So you do the sign for mom, and then you'll do the sign for in. So the sign for in is you're going to have non-dominant hand half open. So it's almost like you're holding a cup. Dominant hand is going to be like almost like you're playing a sock puppet, or yeah. And you're just going to go in. So for mother-in-law, be mom, in, and then law. So the sign for law is going to be non-dominant hand is sideways with the L, and you're going to go tap, tap. So mother-in-law. And the reason I think it's so funny is, oh wait, yes, Miss Chris, I see you have a hand raised. Or is that just no, you're good? Okay. Sorry, I'm so used to, if I see that hand raised, I'm like, oh, because my kids, if I'm not paying attention, well, if I'm paying attention, too focused, and like they try to get my attention, they'll just do that little hand notification. I'm like, so it gets very distracted. But anyways, the reason I think that it's just so funny about saying mother-in-law is I don't ever think about when I know this sounds weird, but like when you're saying mother-in-law, I'm never thinking about actual like law, because this is the sign for like legal laws, like laws we make. You need to follow the law. It just feels very legal in a like, and which is, I mean, makes sense. Your mother, you're now the mother through a legal marriage. But I never think of it that way. I'm just like mother-in-law, mother-in-law. So when I ever have that law, I'm always like, why is it that? But it makes sense. But when I learned it, I was like, what is this? So that's mother-in-law. Now let's see, anything else about, are there any other family members that you guys can think of that you're curious about or have? Yes.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself.
No,
what about if it's like your great aunt or great uncle or great grandmother?
So I think a lot of times with those, because I've never actually seen someone specifically call, like have to be specific about that. But a lot of times I do notice they'll say just aunt or uncle. You might can say, I know I've seen one time someone, just to clarify, was like saying my dad's aunt. You know, they'll add that extra, like instead of saying my great aunt, you say my dad's aunt. I believe you also can just fingerspell great aunt, and that can also kind of get your point across. So sorry, my nose. So that's kind of what I've seen. I haven't seen that often enough and haven't had to use it often enough that it's kind of, I've noticed something that was a different meaning for it.
So do boy, girl, brother, sister again, and then also add to that boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So boy is going to be boy. So you have the cap and you're just holding it, boy. And then girl's going to be thumb across your chin. And you don't go all the way down. You just kind of do a little, just a small one, girl. Then we have sister. So sister's going to be, again, your thumbs up, pointer fingers up, like your little water gun. Your non-dominant hand's just got pointer up. Sister. Here, I'll go higher. I'm going to go at a weird angle, you guys. Fair warning. Sister. Sister. You just have your pointer finger touch your palm, touch the palm of your, not the palm, but the side of your non-dominant hand. Sister. And then brother's the same thing, but from your forehead. Brother. Brother. And then for boyfriend, girlfriend, what you do is you'll do the same thing again for boy, but now you'll add the sign for friend. So the sign for friend is going to be pointer fingers. It's going to sound very complicated when I say this, but it makes sense when you see it. Your pointer, non-dominant hands, pointer fingers pointing up, dominant hands pointing down, friend. So you're just looping it, friend, yeah. It's very hard for me trying to explain this. Every time I try to explain it, I like almost make it, I overcomplicate it. So for boy, friend, girl, friend. Yes, Kelly.
How about ex-wife, ex-husband?
So for that, I never showed you guys husband and wife. Thank you for that, because I always forget that one. It's because I myself am not married, so I don't think about those things. But for ex-husband, ex-wife, you would just do that EX, and then you would sign the sign for husband or wife. So the sign for husband is going to be non-dominant hands slightly palm up, dominant hands right here, husband. Husband. And then for wife, it's the same thing from your chin, wife. So her husband, his wife, their wife, whatever, you know, so that's wife, husband. So if you're talking about an ex-husband or ex-wife, you would do ex-husband. All right. Are there any other questions you guys have? Are you all good? Good. My phone locked. I got to put it back up. There we go. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, once again, I'm sorry. I told you guys I do these little soapboxes, but is the signs for he, she, them, and they. So one of the kind of coolish, when I mean coolish things about ASL is that there's not very clear, like the signs for like, you know, remember when I was saying that for the sentence of like going to the store, you don't have to say I am or she is. You don't have those is. This is the English signing for it, but you don't use it. And it's kind of the same way with pronouns. You don't say he or she. You point to them, or you might sign the name, like give them the name sign. So Gillian goes to the store, you know, she goes to the store, and there's no worrying about having to make sure you're using the right sign for he or she, because it's just pointing at that person. Now, if you're saying me, like if you're saying anything about yourself, it's always going to be towards you. So for example, for saying me is just pointing to myself, me. Then we have my, and so my and mine are the same ones. It's just going to be mine, my. So like saying like that computer's mine, or my laptop. So mine. Then for saying hers or his, whoever's, you just kind of do that open hand motion. It's theirs. So you're saying like that paper's theirs. For we, and these are directional. Oh wait, I think we do these later. I'm just gonna add them now. Sorry, it just clicked. But so for signs like we, you will do kind of like a 2-person we. I usually end up making a K. I don't know why I do that, but I mean it can be just 2 people, and it has to be directional. So what I mean by that is saying, if I'm talking about I'm talking to you guys about how we went to the store and I have like my dad here, then I'd have to do we. But if my dad was like on this side, this doesn't work because there's no one here. So you have to go we. So it's very directional. You have to be kind of, or like this motion, like it moves with whoever else you're also talking about, if that makes sense. And that'll be the same for when you're using like they. And you'll, again, it's just that two, but now you're pointing to two different people. I always imagine that this is someone and this is someone. And if you're talking about multiple people, if you just kind of, you can do fours, just kind of showing like all of them. Does that make sense? I know it's really kind of weird and a little confusing, but you pick up on it better when you see it in conversation. So there's we, they. If you're saying like ours, you go, sorry, I was thinking of so you have your open palm, ours. So this is like all of ours. You start from your shoulder to the other side. For theirs, you go theirs. You just kind of go back and forth across. Yes. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so then the last one I'm going to give you guys around this is the sign for all, like everyone. And there's actually a couple of different ways to sign it. This one's always a little bit, for me, I think it helps better because I can you use the letters of the sign. So I start with my A, and then I transfer to an L and I go around. So all. Start with the A, all. And again, that's that whole circular motion from one shoulder to the other. I'm not actually touching my shoulder, but it's like that motion of I'm here to this side. All. Another one you can use for all is like, starting with that fist, all. I always like this one though. I don't know. I've just been that way. Another one is, I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to do these. I'm getting to that point where like I'm doing how I teach my kids in class and I'm adding more and more, and I'm trying to be careful not to totally lean off of our, the actual stuff. But so another one for all is having non-dominant hand sideways, dominant hand like this, and do a full loop. All. So, I mean, there's multiple ways you can sign all, whatever works best for you. I mean, I'm very big on this one where I do the A to the L. There's always all. There's all. It's whatever you guys are most comfortable with yourselves. So, okay. So now are we still good? Everyone's still not totally being like, oh my gosh, what is she doing right now? Okay. So now what we're going to move on to is WH question words. These are, so one of the cool things about ASL with question words is when you use them, you actually don't start with, like when you're signing the sentence, you do not start with the WH question word. So for example, for like when we're saying, what time is dinner? Where is dinner? You wouldn't say that in ASL. You would say dinner where? Dinner when? So that's how they do it. It's really cool. And the reason they do it is because it helps with making sure that that's showing like, this is a question that needs an answer. And again, I know it's a very talkative kind of thing, but for WH question words, you're going to have your eyebrows go down. Facial expressions are very important. So we'll start with the first word for the first one, what? So what is going to be hands are kind of slightly palm up. What? You just kind of shake them. So what? When you do it, you want eyebrows down. I know you're like, but it makes me think I'm angry. You're not angry. It shows them that you're asking a question, because in ASL visual, they're very visual. And so facial expressions are very much used and relied on. So if you're saying what, they're not going to think you're actually asking a question. They're going to be a little, you asking me or are you just saying the word? So you go, what? And they'll know, okay, that's a question. So that's what helps them clarify when you have a question or not. This is basically your question symbol. Now, I also sometimes like to do this, which is the sign for question. It's just almost like a little inchworm kind of deal. And I like to do that, especially when I have masks on, because it's always kind of hard to tell if I'm asking a question. So I'll do that at the end to help kind of show this is an actual question. So, okay, so we have what. Then we have who. So who's, again, going to make that L shape. Thumbs on your chin, and you bend down who. You can curve it, you can go straight. Either way works. I mean, it's still just who. I have seen who. I don't know if you can tell, but it's like just that slight bend who. Either way, I've seen it work. So who. And again, eyebrows down. Then we have where. Where. You're going to have it kind of not fully hooked like an X, but kind of slightly where. You shake it. Where. Okay. Then we have when. So when's going to be non-dominant hands pointer sideways. Dominant hands the same thing. When. 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 Okay. So we have who, what, when, where, why. Why. Sorry, I have to go through them all again. So why is going to be, you're going to start right here to the side of your forehead bent and end in a Y. The actual sign for why. 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 And you want to make sure you're not going out. You want to keep it in that same Y. Why. So you still want it to face up in the end. Why. Why. And again, eyebrows, that eyebrows down. I know I keep talking about it, but that's just, it's a very important thing to have the eyebrows. That's just a very big deal. So why? Why? Okay. How are we feeling on those WH question words right now? I know we have about 5 of them, but there's more, obviously. Not WH, but question words. Are y'all good, or do you guys want to kind of review them again? Which would you guys prefer? Here, I'll show you the sign for review. So the sign for review is hand sideways. Our thumbs and fingers are in an R. Thumb touches review. 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 So would you guys rather review or go on ahead? Which would you guys prefer? Review. Okay. Perfect. We're going to use that from now on. I never do that. I haven't done that in any other classes. You guys are special. You get the review sign. So, okay. So we have, I got to do it in the order I know. I'm so sorry. Who, or who. Either way works. So slightly bent, fully bent. Who. And I always do this kind of almost like pursing your lips, like who, like you're finished with saying the word who. So who. Then what? What? When? When? Where? Remember, that's slightly bent. Where? And then why? 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 Okay. So how are we feeling on those now? Are we good? Feel like we can continue now? Okay, continue. Perfect. Okay. So now I'm going to show you the sign for how, yes and no. So the sign for how is going to be your thumbs are, you have 2 thumbs up. You want your middle knuckles, so not the big ones, but the little ones to touch. And then you're just going to shake one up. How. And this can be actually for how are you, is you would do how you. So if you're asking like, how does this work, how. And again, those eyebrows are down. Okay. Now for yes, no, the sign for yes and no. The sign for yes is going to be a fist. Like basically you're making an S and you're just going to bounce it up and down. I always imagine like it's someone nodding their heads. Yes. Then the sign for no is going to be, you're going to use these 3 fingers. Your thumbs forward and your 2 fingers touch. No. All right. So if you're ever asking a question, those yes, no questions where you don't have a WH one, you know, for like, is it raining? Do we have school today? For those, when you have the question itself, a lot of times you just sign the words. So for example, you know, is there school today? So school today. And what I don't know if you guys noticed, but my eyebrows went up. So eyebrows up means it's a yes or no question. Eyebrows down means it needs a more elaborate, a more bigger response, like a place or a time. So eyebrows up is a yes, no. Eyebrows down are those WH question words. So again, that's just kind of how, and you know, and I kind of personally, I like it. I think it helps with making sure that you actually are understanding if there's a question involved in it or not, because I feel like it could be very easily, if you didn't have those eyebrows, it'd be very easy to be confused or, oh, are you asking me something? So let's go back on, well, we only did 3, but how, yes, and then no. All right. So are we feeling good on that? Are we good to go? Keep going. So I know this is a lot but that's why I like how I'm sorry, I'm having one of those stutter moments. We record these so you guys can go back and review them later yourself. And that's why we do this. And so it helps. So I give you guys a lot, but we can keep going. So the next one, next subject, topic. This is the time for like subject, topic, any kind of those sort of theme. It's like 2 bent X's and you just kind of shake them. It's almost like you're making quotation marks. So theme, subject, topic, that. So our next topic is going to be places. So, and I promise Miss Katie, I will remember to give you the sign for library. The first 3 classes, she's had to remind me every single time to add the library. I forget it.
Gillian's like, are there any other important places? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Sometimes she'll just look and I can see it and I'm like, oh no, I did it again. So that's our first one. That is our first one. I always make school my first one because, you know, as a teacher, that's my first place. But the library is a very big one. So the sign for library is you're going to make an L and you just spin it in a circle, library. It's very easy too. I don't know why I keep forgetting to use this sign. So library. Okay, so then we have, of course, school. So school is going to be non-dominant hand palm up, dominant hand, and you're almost clapping sideways. School. So that's school. Yes, school. Then we have home. So home is going to be kind of almost like a little, not really a fist. Yes, perfect. Yes. When I do this one, I'll show this one. Sorry, she asked a question if I could sign the word for book, and I will show you. But so the sign for home is going to start from the corner of your lip and go back to your ear. So home, 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 home. All right, so the sign for book is going to be, you're going to have it, book, book. It's one of my favorite ones. I don't know why. I just love it. I do. Book. Book. And to give you an extra one, the sign for read is read. It's a V, like you have 2 eyes and you're looking at a page. Read. So book, read. I love these signs. Don't know why, but I do. Book, read. All right. Then, okay, so now we're back on our place. So then we have house. So the sign for house is going to be, you're almost drawing a house. If you remember, like as a kid and you just do that, yes, basically that, but with your full hands. So house, house, doing a triangle and sideways, house, house. Yes. Oh, I'm so glad. Sorry. I always worry that someone's gonna be like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I did not draw a house like that. So I'm always like, oh no, I'm so sorry. Don't know why that is a big worry for me, but that's just how I am. So then we have, the bathroom. Okay. I know that was just a random change, but like that's the next one in my mind. So the bathroom has technically 2 different signs. One is it's more commonly used. And then there's more of like a fancy, nice one, but that one's not really used often. So the sign for bathroom that's most commonly used is you'll make a T and you'll shake it back and forth, bathroom. And then the sign for bathroom that's fancy is like the sign for, you know how some people will be like, where's the restroom? And like, I know we don't use it to be fancy, but that's basically how it's treated in ASL is you'll have R's and you go restroom. You just kind of bounce them, R. And I always laugh because when I was in college, my teacher was always like, you need to use restroom. Restroom's more appropriate and more nice, because she never liked this one, because basically the reason this one is, she says it's because the T is supposed to stand for toilet. So you're basically saying toilet. And she's just like, oh no, that's just not, no, restroom. And I'm like, and I was like, okay. But then I saw everybody else, like everybody at my school, the teachers, everybody uses bathroom. And I'm like, I'm not using restroom. No, I'm using bathroom. I don't care if I'm saying toilet. This is fine. All of the kids use it. So toilet. All right. So then we've done school, we've done the library, we've done home, we've done, okay, the grocery, so store. The sign for store. So the sign for store is you're going to have almost like in your puppet hands, and they're going to be a little more down, and you're going to shake them next to your head, store. I almost think about like holding a grocery bag really high up and then just shaking it in front of your face. I don't know why. Don't even try to ask me why. I'm just a very visual person, and I like to make pictures with like how I use the sign. So store. That sign for store can be used for going to the grocery store, going shopping, any kind of store you would go to, like I've never had to use like the word like a hardware store, but you would be like a store, those things. I'm unfortunately not a very good person when it comes to things like plumbing and stuff. So I'm very clueless. So I don't go to the hardware store. I go to my dad. That's why I'm like, that was a horrible example, but I tend to do bookstore. So any kind of store is this sign, store. All right. And then let's see. Why do I forget so many places? We have park or playground. So playground is going to be, yes, wait, did I hear someone?
Yeah, I was asking for church too.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I usually have a list, but my list is not there right now. I feel like I say that all the time. I have an iPad and a phone, and I keep going back and forth between which one I want to use for that day. And both are missing very important information. So I always end up missing something. So, but yes, so I'll do church next. So playground, there's actually not a specific sign for playground. You just sign play area. So the sign for play is going to be 2 Y's, and you're going to shake them, play. And this is like anything, like I'm playing a game, like you're playing around, play. And then, so you'll just do play area. I always start with an A and kind of end open. You can just kind of just do it open completely. And it's, yes, you're basically making a circular motion around a space. So it's almost like you're saying this place right here, this space right here is the playground. So play area. Then we have church. So the sign for church, and there's another one I have to add. I'm going to also show you guys the sign for chocolate. When I tell you why, like you'll understand why I'm randomly adding chocolate in, but like I just have to say that we're going to learn that one as well. So the sign for church is going to be non-dominant hands in a fist, dominant hands in a C, and you're going to bounce it. Church. Sorry, church. Perfect. Now, the reason I say we're going to learn the sign for chocolate is the sign for chocolate is chocolate. And so church is tapping, chocolate is a circular motion. And I can promise you, I have flip-flopped those many times. I've done it in the classroom, trying not to, because what happens to me is I'll sit there and I'm like, okay, I know this is sign for church, but I'm like, but I could also very easily sign the sign for chocolate on accident. And I've done it. Or I'll sign the word for church and I mean chocolate. And my kids will just kind of stare at me like, we're not eating churches, we're eating chocolate. I'm like, my bad. So that's why I show that one.
What's the word for like love? So like if you were to say, I love chocolate or he loves chocolate.
Okay, so this one's gonna get me on a little side note. And the reason is because there's actually a couple of different ways of how you would sign something you love. And it depends on what that thing is. So for example, if you're saying like you love someone, you guys have probably seen this, which means I love you. I've always seen this used more as like kind of like friend love, happy love. You can use it for family love, but like it's just like love. And then if you mean like I love you, like you're saying it to your significant other, being like I love you, you would go love, love, love. For if you love chocolate or love food, I have seen, it's really cool. This is one of my favorite signs, is the sign. It's called kiss fist, because there's really no word in English that matches with it, because this is the sign for love. But the other meaning of it is, so like something like you're like, this is just the best thing ever. I'm obsessed with it. It's my favorite thing. And basically you kiss, you're like, you have the back of your palm and you push it forward, kiss fist. And so you would say chocolate, like that is just, that is just the best thing in the world to you. So, oh, excuse me. So that is kind of like, I'll use it for like books. I'll be just like, oh, that book just was great. So, but there is actually no word for that sign, which I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know why, but I do. So there's that. And then we were still on places because I got distracted with chocolate, which is not a surprise there. I'll kind of open this up now. Are there any places you guys can think of that I didn't show you the sign for? I know there's a ton of places I didn't, but.
Is a reasonable thing for I love you. This is an L and a Y. Is that it?
So you have the I for I, L, and then the Y. And when someone showed me that, I thought that was the coolest thing. Because I just, you see people going, oh, and you're like, why is that a big deal? And then someone was like, because it's actually saying, I love you. So I'm very like, I love it. I think it's so cool.
And so I remember the house.
Mhm.
What about home again? I forgot home.
Oh, no, you're good. So home's going to be kind of almost like you're making an O. It's the corner of your lip to your ear. Home. Home. Mm-hmm. And yes. Okay, let's see. Okay, perfect. So concert and beach. Okay, perfect. So the sign for concert's actually kind of cool is what you do is you do the sign for sing, the sign for song, sign for sing. And I think, I sometimes like to think, I don't think it's serious. I just jokingly funny is that because it's like, for them, they're like, that's just not a big deal to us. They just all made it one sign. The sign for concert, the sign for song, sign for sing, music, it's all the same sign. They're just like, yeah, you don't need like many different, no. So that sign is you're going to have non-dominant, it's like partially open, and then dominant just goes back and forth. So this is like music, singing, song. I'll always say I go to what I'll say go, and that usually helps them understand it's concert. And if it comes to where you're like, I really need to be clear on this, that's when you would finger spell concert. So, but yes, concert. All right, and then for beach. So beach can be signed a couple of different ways. And honestly, neither of them are actually very like synchronous, like they're the same. It's always something slightly different. Some people I know just like to finger spell the word beach. They just finger spell it. Some people will just say water. So, water. If you guys didn't know the sign for water, sorry, W, pointer finger touches the corner of your lip, water. This is the sign for anything water related. So like if you're thirsty, you need water, you would be like water. If you're talking about like an ocean or a part of water, you would do water and then kind of describe it. So like for river, it'd be water, river. Like I always make that thin, kind of curve. If it's like a pond, you would go water area or pond. You can do a loop. So for beach, you would do water and then non-dominant is palm up. Dominant is you're almost pretending to have the waves crash against the sand. So water, and you want to make sure it's almost like pushing up against your hand. So water. Some people will have a fist in doing it for like rocky. I see more of this, just kind of basic for beach. So that's what I've seen for beach. If not, then just the BACH, finger spelling is kind of a safe bet. Are there any other places you guys can think of that?
Can you do inside and outside?
Yes. So for inside, it's the same thing as in. So in. Outside would be out. You just take it out. You already start and you're like out. Another sign I've seen used for out is actually, it's basically, so you guys know how we live in the South. We do not always say you all, we say y'all. They do that in ASL as well. In the sense of they have signs that are basically, it's the same sign, but you almost are a little lazy and just combining things. So I've seen another sign for out is out, just out. Like if we're going, because I'll see my kids will go outside or inside, and they won't add that extra, that cup motion. They're just like out. Both are acceptable, of course. So I always think it's kind of cool because you basically can still see almost like dialect between ASL, and there's actually regional signs. So there's certain signs that we may sign here in the South that they up north do not sign. And so I think it's kind of cool because that's kind of how it is in English anyways, is there's certain things that there's certain words that they would use up north more than we would down here. Like I've always lived in the South, I've always been in the South, but I feel like if we go up north and we're like, you all, y'all, they're like, you guys, you know, so there's those slightly differences, but you still can understand and communicate. So, okay. Are there any more questions you guys have, even if they're not place related? So any kind of questions you guys have? You guys feeling good? Because I know it's a little early, but I feel we've done enough signs. I think we've done a lot. So I do not want to keep giving you guys more and more because I know that was a heavy content basically. So for next week's class, it's going to be more fun because we're going to learn our Halloween signs. And I'm very, very excited for that. So, and I think what we'll also probably do is we're going to do Halloween signs, but if we have extra time, we can either finish early or we can do some practice. So some practice signs, kind of reviewing the signs that we've seen in the past. And again, this is not, there's no test for it. It's if you don't know it, haven't seen it yet, it's totally fine. Okay, so I'm going to repeat it real quick because I know someone left and then had to come back in. And so I'm going to explain it again. So next week, we're going to have our Halloween signs. And I said what we can do is because there's not that many Halloween signs. But if we end up having where we finish early, like 30 minutes early, we can either finish early, or we can practice like some review signs. So practice some signs that we've learned, almost kind of test ourselves. And it's totally fine if you guys are like, I can't remember. Because that's fine. It happens, especially when you haven't had to use it. You can sit there and practice it all the time. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't know this, but I do. And so I just try to be like, don't stress. I'm not going to judge you. Because I always like, that's my biggest worry is that people are going to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this one. No, you're fine. So that's our plan for next week. We'll finish kind of early tonight. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And I hope you guys I will see you guys next week. There we go.
And Gilly or Katie, I don't know who posts the recording so promptly. We appreciate that. Good to have
That is
you.
totally Katie.
That's me, yeah. And I've been trying to add the timestamps, but it's not. I have to go back and listen to the whole thing all over again, so I don't always have time to do that. But you're welcome. I'm happy to do it.
It's great to have it there. I appreciate it.
Yay.
All
All right,
right.
y'all have a great week.
I was gonna ask,
Guys.
hey, Sorry, just at the end. I was trying to ask a question and then I hung up. That's why I was gone. I've been wondering since last week we were talking about time things, but we didn't do morning, afternoon, evening. Do
Oh,
those before I take off?
swear. Yes. So what we'll do is because that's kind of a lot is we'll save that for next meeting. We'll do those. I cannot believe I forgot those. I'm sorry. That was me hitting my chair because I try so hard to be like, don't forget these, and then I forget something. So yes,
All right.
we will definitely do those next week.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.